Jose Llana, thanks for talking to me.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. Enjoying New York, enjoying the show.
Now, when I saw the show, you'd done 2 shows that day. Firstly, how much does it take out of you doing 2 shows in one day?
I tell you, a lot. We have 8 in a week, and to just sort of wake up, I purposely wake up late just to get as much sleep as I can, and to do the 2 shows, it's a lot of mental energy and it's a lot of physical and vocal energy.
Now, they really make you work in this musical because you're very rarely off stage, aren't you? You're on for the 2.5 hours. It's incredible.
It's a lot of fun. It's great that you can sort of live out your life for 2.5 hours on stage.
Now, how much do you enjoy the musical? Because I saw you on Sunday morning on NBC, a national program. You sang live and did it beautifully. Now, that's a real sign of talent, but do you enjoy doing a musical 8 times a week?
Oh, are you kidding? It's very few people. I always tell my family and my friends that I'm one of the lucky ones. I get to wake up every day and do what I love to do, and I'm very blessed to be able to do that.
Now, despite the fact that this is just opened on Broadway, you've actually been part of this musical for a long time.
Right. Well, we originated the production in Los Angeles last year, and that was the first full production of this revival. And that was the first time I was involved in it. The production itself, the revival started about 5 years ago when David Henry Wong first wrote it, and they worked it. They did 2 readings in New York, then they workshopped it, which I was not involved in because I was actually doing Martin Guerre at the time. But then when it finally came to a full-on production, I finally became involved with it last year.
It's an amazing show, and it's what I call a traditional musical, and I don't know whether you're going to be offended by that, but it's kind of like The King and I. It's a proper musical with the set, the scenery, the costumes, and proper singing, and you guys really can sing, which is not always the case in some musicals.
No, I'm actually not insulted by that reference at all. I think right now on Broadway there's 2 kinds of musicals. There's the new avant-garde, sort of like visceral, come and we'll throw, pies at you and scream at you. But this goes back to what Rodgers and Hammerstein sort of set up the foundation of musical theater in America, which is tell a simple story and give some beautiful music and a lot of dancing showgirls, and you got a big brassy musical, and that's what we have. Tell us a bit about the story for those who don't know. Well, it's a story about this girl who comes over from China to Chinatown in San Francisco, and she befriends this American Chinese boy, my character Ta, and in meeting him and falling in love with him, she helps him to realize to fully become an American, you have to really accept where you come from, which was for him to be Chinese. And I think that's the constant struggle of any American, is that they have to balance where they come from and who they are in America. Do you find that it touches a tone with not only your own life but the audience as well, for those who aren't born and bred in America? I mean, there's a lot of truth in this show, and it's kind of touching in places where you think, ooh, a little too close to the knuckle almost. Yeah, I think that's why that reads to people. I think, especially in Los Angeles, when people didn't know what to expect, and even when they come to see it in New York, they see Flower Drum Song, Rodgers and Hammerstein. They don't expect to get some sort of deep message about being American. But I think it's what it is. I think what Americans have in common is that everyone came from somewhere else, and whether or not you're watching a Chinese-American story about a Chinese guy accepting where he comes from, you can be from Poland or Africa, anywhere in America, and you really understand the story. It's an amazing show, amazing songs, and very funny as well. And that's the great thing about this show. I mean, it sounds very heavy and deep, but there are so many laughs in it, and it's very, very clever the way that the characters are built to kind of feed each other with different gags. Exactly. I think that's also David Henry Wong's gift, is that he's a great comedic writer. He just sort of sometimes I step backstage because I don't really get to tell a lot of the jokes. It's a lot of the comedy lines are left to my father's character and his love interest. But I sit backstage and we laugh every show, and I go, David's probably been waiting about 10 years. He's had that joke written on a piece of paper somewhere, and he says, "Ooh, finally I get to write a show where I can put that joke in." But a lot of them are so rifled with innuendo and really total the jabs at the stereotypes that exist in America about Chinese American culture. Let's talk about you and growing up and getting into the musicals. Did you always want to be in the musicals? Oh yeah, I mean, it was as a kid growing up in Washington D.C. I was born in the Philippines, but I moved to New York when I was 3, and then Virginia when I was 4, and I saw shows at the Kennedy Center my entire childhood. And when traveling shows like Les Mis and Cats came into town, I was just caught by the bug. And my father is a singer, not a professional one, but I would wake up every morning and sing Simon and Garfunkel and Beatles songs with him on his guitar. So New York not being so far away, it was always a quick trip on the train to go see shows in New York, and always wanted to come to New York. Yeah.
You've got an amazing voice. Was that God-given? Was that just through singing with your father, or have you been trained hugely and put lots of time into it?
Well, I guess somewhere in the middle. I sang all the way through high school and middle school, and then when I graduated high school, I decided to go to conservatory for music. I went to Manhattan School of Music, and it was actually during that freshman year of college that I got the King and I was actually all set to transfer to the Royal Academy, Royal College of Music in London, actually. And actually, I was literally picking out my dorm room when the King and I happened, and I wrote them a nice letter and asking them I was going to just defer for a year, and they wrote me a letter back saying, you're going to go do what we're going to try to teach you to learn how to do, so go ahead and take the job.